greatest thing that the prayer that engenders dominion produces is access to the voice of God. When a man who dominates by prayer is praying, one of the things that he catches from the realm is the voice of Yahweh. The reason is because dominion hinges on the voice of God. The wars were created by the word of God. So when that man is praying, he's seeking the proceeding word of God. He wants to pick what the Father is saying, so he can be there for 3 days. His goal is not to come back and make a doctrine of 3 days non-stop prayer. His goal is to wait until God speaks. So while he's praying, if God have not spoken, he may be there for 14 days, because the prayer will not stop until God speaks. Now, the reason we teach people to tarry for long in prayer is not to brag about it. It's so that they can develop stamina in order not to stop before God speaks. Because if they stop before God speaks, they wasted their time. If you don't have stamina and you are praying with Elijah, after the 3rd time you may go. I'm saying this now because there are those who will hear and say, we said it, all this long prayer, 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, we know it's flesh. That's not what we are saying. That training is necessary, because there are many times you want to create change that it will take 72 hours for God to speak. So if you have not trained yourself on 14 hours prayers non-stop, you will not be able to wait until the voice of God comes. And what will create the change is not the prayer. What will create the change is the feedback that comes from heaven. And so prayer is the way of creating that gangway for that voice to come, because the voice of God is upon many waters. The voice of God is full of majesty. The Bible said the voice of God thundered. He divided the flames of fire. He said he discovered the forest. He causes the hind to calve. Even creation itself is sustained by the voice of God. And so when a man wants to create dominion, without every contradiction, he will lock himself away and pray until God speaks. This is what Elijah knew. He knew that the darkness on the territory, only a change that is supernatural can judge the heart of the king. So he showed up and said, before God whom I stand, there shall be no rain or dew except at my word. After he finished saying it, he knew that if God doesn't veto it, there is problem. So Elijah would have been on that mountain for 1 week. Hope you know, Moses was waiting for the voice of God, and he waited for 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't go there with the intention of beating 40 days and 40 nights. He went there to wait on the voice of God, and until God speaks, nothing changes. Because the way to engender dominion is when God begins to talk. If God is not speaking into your life, you'll be in trouble. No matter where you worship. Have you not seen people mysteriously die from the most powerful places? Because there is so much God can do for you because of where you are. But the greatest insurance for your life is the speakings of God into your life. Because when God speaks to you, his jealousy defends it. He told Simeon, you will not see death until you see the salvation of Israel. Even when Simeon was old, he couldn't die, because God has spoken. The voice of God will preserve, the voice of God will defend, and the voice of God will keep that which he has said. There are many forces today that program men. Because when a spirit speaks, he's not just speaking to create change. When a spirit speaks, he's programming your life. Have you seen people before? They get married, their husband is gentle and calm. Because their husband is gentle and calm, they oppress him until they are separated. It's after the marriage is destroyed that they come back to their senses. And then you ask them, they say, I don't know why. Have you seen people before? They marry very good women and they trouble them until the marriage is destroyed. After the woman leaves, then they now wake up and say, why did I do what I did? They were programmed. Have you seen people before? Every decision they make takes them away from their blessing. They were in the business for 5 years. In the 6th year that God wanted to visit, they quit. And the moment they quit, they now hear that the business are blown. And then they are wondering why. The reason is because demons speak into men's life and speak into circumstances to program men into destruction. So when you begin to pray to hear the voice of God, you are actually reprogramming your life for victory and for success. In Isaiah chapter 30 verse 12, he said, when you are in the wrong way, he said you will hear a voice. That's what prayer does for you. The voice will tell you, turn back, that is not the way to go. You may have journeyed on that path for 5 years, it doesn't matter. What makes you succeed is not how long, it's how right. I've told you before that if you are in the wrong direction, speed is not an advantage. Isaiah 30:21, he said, turn. That's not the way to go. When you see men that things keep working for them, it's because there is an accuracy they have attained in the place of prayer. They will not move until God speaks. So sometimes the thing is not working. That's what they are doing. And then you are wondering, are you okay? No, they are not okay. They are hearing something from another realm. But the man who depends only on his mind does not know that there's already a verdict that is not given to man that walketh to order his step. There are too many wise creatures in this realm to manipulate things. And so in order for your life not to be programmed wrongly, you need to stay on the prayer altar. If you will stay on the prayer altar until you apprehend the voice of God, you become invincible. Jesus said, as the wind bloweth, he said, thou listest not from whence it cometh or where it goeth. He said, so are they that are born by the Spirit of God. They are men with noble intentions, but they keep making mistakes upon mistakes. Your life will end up in struggle if the mistakes you make are too many. But the way to minimize error and to reprogram your life for greatness is to ensure that your altar is generating the voice of God. If the voice of God is scarce, then a people will be sent into captivity. In Revelation chapter 1 verse 9 and 10, they had programmed everything to destroy John. They manipulated men against him. Systems turned against him. There was nowhere to hide anymore. He literally became a victim until they arrested him. They tried to kill him. According to church history, they dragged him on the street. He wouldn't die. They put him in boiling oil. He wouldn't die. When they saw that he wouldn't die, they now cast him to an isle called Patmos. But the guy knows that he's not succeeding because of where he is. He's succeeding because he's invincible. And what makes him invincible is because the voice of God is with him. And suddenly, in Revelation chapter 1 verse 9 and 10, it said, I was in the spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard a voice as of a trumpet. And when I turned, he said, I saw 7 golden lampstands. The Isle of Patmos, which is supposed to be the Isle of Death, became the mountain of God. What reprogrammed his experience is because he was in the spirit. There are many people today, men may gang up against you. They will push you to a place where they think you want to die. Did you read about Jeremiah? They threw Jeremiah into a pit, a sock away. That would have been a place of suffocation. But while Jeremiah was there, he had understood the technology. From that pit, he was prophesying the destiny of Israel. That means such men become so invincible that you can't destroy them. Anywhere they are, they have a superior knowledge to recode every negative coding that the devil has done. There are people today, they just wake up, they go out, and the moment they are stepping on the road, they are knocked down. You think it's coincidence? Their steps were manipulated. Because when demons want to destroy you, sometimes they program you into self-destruction. And the guy wants to travel, he delays himself on Monday, delays himself on Tuesday, and stood up on Wednesday to travel. And that Wednesday, he woke up, he kept dragging his feet until he left for the park around 11. The car he entered is already destined for accident. He didn't know why a journey that should have been on Sunday was delayed to Wednesday. And the journey was delayed to Wednesday. Of all the cars, is the one that should somersault that he entered. It's because of demonic programming. But when men begin to pray, there's a voice that travels with them. Even if the program is complete, while they are yet there, they say, no, not this one. A lady went to the airport, paid for her flight. The flight was about to take off. In fact, they hurried her because they were about shutting the door. After she pleaded, begged, they did all the necessary connection to get her on the flight. The moment she checked in her luggage, she lost her peace. Give me my bag. They said, no, they've checked it in. I need my bag, I'm not going. They said they checked it in. He said, no problem. And she walked out. The plane crashed. The question is, what about the 80 to 90 Christians that are on that flight? Is it that God specially loved this one? No. There is a heritage that is for every believer. It is the one that ascended in the spirit that picked it. If all of them picked it, all of them would have left the flight. It is one that picked it. As much as God would have loved to save everybody, the spiritual technology made for their salvation is the voice of God. And only the man who will pitch the tent of prayer will access it. But unfortunately, many die because they didn't hear God's voice. Have you not heard people that struggled and fought for what they called an opportunity, not knowing that that is the grave with the mouth open? How come they didn't hear? They said there will be a voice behind you. That voice will tell you, no, turn back. I've seen men before that invested in business so much that you will say this is the one that will create breakthrough. When they are about to move, they lose their peace and they say, Lord, what are you saying? What are you saying? And God said, not this one.